Aviation has transformed the world. However, this remarkable progress has come at a cost, as several catastrophic aircraft crashes have dramatically reminded us of the inherent risks involved in flying. Today, we delve into the 10 deadliest aircraft crashes in history, examining the circumstances, loss of life, and their impact. Number 10. American Airlines Flight 191 was a regularly scheduled domestic passenger flight from O'Hare International Airport in Chicago to Los Angeles. On May 25, 1979, it was scheduled to fly to Los Angeles International Airport, carrying 258 passengers and 13 crew members. On the afternoon, the McDonnell Douglas DC-10 was taking off from runway. During the takeoff rotation, the number 1 engine separated from the left wing, ripping away a 3-foot section with it. Its left engine detached from the wing, causing a loss of control, and the aircraft crashed about 4,600 feet from the end of runway. All 271 occupants on board were killed, along with 2 people on the ground. With 273 fatalities, it is one of the deadliest aviation accidents to have occurred in the United States. Number 9. On February 19, 2003, the Iran Ilyushin IL-76 was flying a route from Zahedan Airport to Kerman Airport carrying members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps on an unspecified mission. On board there were 257 passengers and 18 crew members. The 4-engine Russian transport aircraft lost contact with air traffic control at 5:30 p.m. after flying into poor weather conditions. Strong winds were reported in the region of the crash when the aircraft disappeared from radar. Around the same time, villagers in the area described hearing a loud explosion. The aircraft crashed into the Serch Mountains, southeast of Kerman, about 500 miles or 800 kilometers southeast of Tehran. There were no survivors among the 275 occupants on board the aircraft. The crash remains the second deadliest on Iranian soil. Number 8. Iran Air Flight 655 was a scheduled passenger flight from Tehran to Dubai via Bandar Abbas International Airport, Iran. The Airbus A300 carried 274 passengers and 16 crew members on board. On the morning of July 3, 1988, Flight 655 took off from Bandar Abbas International Airport, Iran at 10:17 a.m. The flight was assigned to Commercial Air Corridor over Persian Gulf, a direct line to Dubai Airport. On that morning, United States Navy warship USS Vincennes was passing through the Strait of Hormuz, and one of its helicopters was shot at by Iranian patrol vessels as it was flying. Vincennes then pursued the Iranian gunboats. At the same time, Flight 655 was first detected by Vincennes immediately and mistakenly identified as an Iranian F-14 Tomcat on its way to attack. With the aircraft not answering radio challenges and continuing towards Vincennes, at 10:24 a.m., Vincennes fired 2 surface-to-air missiles and within 20 seconds the missiles struck the passenger plane. The plane disintegrated immediately in 3 pieces and soon crashed into the water. None of the 290 passengers and crew on board survived. Number 7. Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 was a scheduled passenger flight from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur. 283 passengers and 15 crew were on board the Boeing 777. On Thursday, July 17, 2014 at 12:31 p.m., Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 departed from Amsterdam Airport. According to the original flight plan, MH17 was to fly over Ukraine at 33,000 feet and then climb to 35,000 feet around the Ukrainian city of Dnipropetrovsk. At 4:20 p.m., a Buk ground-to-air missile detonated outside the airplane, just above and to the left of the cockpit. The blast and fragments of the missile severely damaged the cockpit and instantly killed 3 crew members in it. An explosive decompression occurred, tearing the forward section of the aircraft into pieces, causing the middle and rear sections to tear into 3 sections and depressurizing the cabin. The aircraft fell rapidly and continued disintegrating before hitting the ground. All 283 passengers and 15 crew were killed. It is the deadliest aircraft shoot-down incident to date. Number 6. Saudia Flight 163 was a scheduled Saudia passenger flight departing from Karachi, Pakistan, bound for Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. The Lockheed L-1011 TriStar was carrying 287 passengers and 14 crew on board the aircraft. The flight took off at 9:08 p.m. from Riyadh Airport, Saudi Arabia, to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. After 7 minutes into the flight, the crew received warnings of smoke from the cargo compartment. So the plane decided to return to the Riyadh airport. After landing at 9:36 p.m., the airport fire rescue rushed to the aircraft. No external fire was visible at this time, but flames were observed through the windows at the rear of the aircraft. 3 minutes later, the interior of the aircraft was destroyed by fire, leading to the deaths of all 287 passengers and 14 crew on board the aircraft from smoke inhalation. The accident is the deadliest aviation disaster involving a Lockheed L-1011 TriStar, and the deadliest to occur in Saudi Arabia. Number 5. Air India Flight 182 was a passenger flight operating on the Montreal, London, Delhi, Mumbai route. On June 23, 1985, the Boeing 747 aircraft was carrying 329 people on board, including 268 Canadian citizens, 27 British citizens, and 24 Indian citizens. The plane departed from Montreal Mirabel International Airport at 1 a.m. for London Heathrow Airport, en route to PanAm International Airport, Delhi. While the plane flying near Ireland, at 31,000 feet altitude, a bomb hidden in a suitcase in the forward cargo hold exploded. It caused explosive decompression and the breakup of the aircraft in midair. The wreckage settled in 6,700 feet deep water off the southwest Irish coast. The bomb killed all 22 crew and 307 passengers. Of those, 132 bodies were recovered, 197 were lost at sea. The bombing of Air India Flight 182 is the worst terrorist attack in Canadian history. Number 4. Turkish Airlines Flight 981 was a scheduled flight from Istanbul Yeşilköy Airport to London Heathrow Airport. On March 3, 1974, the McDonnell Douglas DC-10 was carrying 346 passengers, including 11 crew members. To maximize the cargo space, the cargo doors opened outwards. On the day of flight, the door was closed improperly. Flight 981 departed from Istanbul at 7:57 a.m. and landed at Paris's Orly International Airport at 11:02 a.m. Then with 346 passengers, it left Orly Airport at 12:32 p.m. to Heathrow Airport in London. While the aircraft was flying at 23,000 feet, the rear left cargo door blew off. When the door blew off, the control cables were completely severed, destroying the pilot's ability to control the plane. After 77 seconds, the plane crashed into the trees of Ermenonville Forest, a state forest in Oise, France. At the point of impact, the aircraft was traveling at a speed of approximately 423 knots, fast enough to disintegrate the plane into thousands of pieces, killing the 346 passengers and crew on board, making it the deadliest aviation accident to occur in France. Number 3. On November 12, 1996, Saudi Arabian Airlines Flight 763, a Boeing 747 was departing from Delhi as part of a scheduled Delhi-Jeddah passenger service with 312 people on board. 215 Indians, many of whom worked in Saudi Arabia as blue-collar workers, boarded the flight, along with 40 Nepalis and 3 Americans. 12 of the crew members, including 5 anti-terrorism officials, were Saudi Arabian citizens. Meanwhile, Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907, an Ilyushin IL-76TD, was on a charter service from Chimkent, Kazakhstan, to Delhi. A company from Kyrgyzstan chartered the flight, and the passenger manifest mostly included ethnic Russian Kyrgyz citizens planning to go shopping in India. Also, 13 Kyrgyz traders boarded the flight. Saudi flight departed Delhi at 6:32 p.m., while Kazakhstan Airlines flight was descending to land at Delhi. Due to some communication errors, both planes were traveling in the same altitude and in opposite directions. At 6:40 p.m., the two aircraft had collided, with the left wing of the Kazakhstan Airlines flight slicing through the left wing of the Saudi flight. The crash killed all 349 people on board both planes, making it the deadliest aviation accident to occur in India. Number 2. Japan Airlines Flight 123 was a domestic passenger flight from Tokyo to Osaka, Japan. The flight was around the Obon holiday period in Japan, when many Japanese people make yearly trips to their hometowns or resorts. The Boeing 747 was carrying 524 people, including 15 crew members. After almost an hour delay, Flight 123 took off from Haneda Airport in Tokyo at 6:12 p.m. The plane's destination was Atami Airport in Osaka. 7 years earlier, when this aircraft had a tailstrike incident, the damage was faultily repaired by technicians, and the aircraft was returned to service. 12 minutes after takeoff, at 6:24 p.m., the faulty repair eventually failed and resulted in a rapid decompression that ripped off a large portion of the tail and caused the loss of all onboard hydraulic systems, disabling the aircraft's flight controls. The vertical stabilizer and all 4 hydraulic lines were damaged. For several minutes pilots tried to save the plane from crashing, but at 6:58 p.m., the rightmost engine struck the trees on top of a ridge of Mount Takamagara. The crash killed all 15 crew members and 505 of the 509 passengers on board, leaving only 4 survivors. The crash of Flight 123 is the second deadliest aircraft accident in aviation history. Number 1. On March 27, 1977, KLM Flight 4805 carrying 248 passengers and PanAm Flight 1736 with 396 passengers landed at the Tenerife Airport on Canary Islands, Spain. They were along with the several other aircrafts diverted to Tenerife due to bomb threats on Gran Canaria Airport. Because of this, the airport had become congested with parked airplanes were blocking the only taxiway. So the departing aircrafts were forced to taxi on the runway. It was a very foggy day and patches of thick fog were drifting across the airfield, so visibility was very poor on that day for pilots and the control tower. KLM Flight 4805 was instructed to taxi on the runway and was told to wait for the clearance. At the same time, PanAm Flight 1736 were told to follow the KLM plane but instructed to leave the runway at the number 3 exit. But due to the fog, PanAm plane missed the exit and was still moving on the runway. Meanwhile, KLM Flight reached the end of the runway and took a U-turn and due to communication error proceeded to approach the takeoff speed. When the KLM Flight saw PanAm plane on the runway, it was too late. The collision and the resulting fire killed all 248 people on board the KLM plane and 335 of the 396 people on board the PanAm plane, with only 61 survivors in the front section of the latter aircraft. With a total of 583 fatalities, the disaster is the deadliest accident in aviation history. So that's all we got for today, and thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos, hit the subscribe button, and if you have something to say, please leave a comment.